Hello everyone, today I will be showing you how to model this explosion in Magicavoxel. We'll do it by hand. It's very simple, so I will try to explain you the best I can. So the first thing you have to do is of course opening Magicavoxel. This is the program by default, so we're gonna press Alt-A, Control-A, and delete the contents of our working space. And the second thing I will do is go to my palette number 3, which is the gray palette. Is the one I like to use because I like to choose my own colors. An important thing is to work with a reference. So we will get here a reference of explosion. I will link you to this image if you want in the description of this video, but it's important for several things. First, to understand the shape of our explosion, and second, to be able to steal the colors from this image. So I will show you how to do that right now. I will have my image on the side and the program here, and what I will do is press and hold Alt and then left mouse click and drag until I'm on top of the image. And then when you let go, you see how the color here changes until I get like the most yellow of the yellow part of the explosion, then the most bright orange I can find, maybe this bit, and then let's get the darker tones, so maybe this bit of red, and I'm getting just the fire right now, so maybe let's get one more red, maybe like something like that. Yeah, we have a darker one and a clearer one. And then for the smoke, let's get the brightest part of the smoke we can find, something like this gray. It's a bit of an orangey gray, and let's get the darkest part, which is about here, which is pretty much pitch black. If we see, it's like a purpley, very dark black. So what I will do with this is press Ctrl Alt and drag with my left mouse button, and this will create a gradient from one point to the other. And this is the palette we will have for our project. So now we can get rid of this for the moment. Let's set up our materials and then we'll continue working with the shape. So what I will do is going to my vertex mode, and I will change the voxel size for, let's say, 20 or something, right? So if I go to attach here, I can create a sphere like that, and we will use this to just test our materials. So what I will do is simply left click and drag, and then with shift, I will left click and drag here, so I have all of my colors, and now I will right click and randomize. Yeah, this option here, randomize, will assign basically, let's go to box mode, it will assign colors to each one of those voxels randomly. So let's start creating the materials for our scene and making sure that it looks nice, and then we will start modeling the actual explosion. So if we go to render now, one thing I will do first is change the sky for an image-based lighting. This will make it so we are lighting the scene with an image instead of like one light is just the sunlight here. So we have the sunlight and also the image-based lighting, which I can rotate. It just creates a nicer ambient in my opinion. So with this in place, let's start talking a bit about the materials. So what I will do is, for the lighter explosion materials, these two, I will use an emission material. Yeah, with those two selected, I left click and drag, so I have both of them selected. I will change to emission, and I will go to the power of 3, and just a little bit of emission, not too much, otherwise it will be too dominant. As you see in the explosion here, it's not that it's so bright. So just some brightness will make it look nice. Good, so we have those two. You can see the difference between the color, the brighter color and a bit of the darker one. And for all of the rest, in my case, I will use the blend material. So I selected them all. You can of course try different things, see what works best for you, but this is how I will do it, and feel free to follow my example. I will go to blend, I will go full transparency, full density, and I will change my material from absorb media to subsurface scattering media. This is more like a rubbery material, and I will give it some roughness too, and I will lower down the IOR so it's not so reflective. So you see how if I make it higher, it will be more reflective, but if you lower it down a bit, it will be a bit less reflective. So this is how our explosion looks. I will change the background to an orange color. So if you go here, instead of light, you go to all within your render mode. You can go down and here you will see your ground color. So I will just pick this orange color for the ground. And maybe I'll make it a bit darker so it's not so intense. Something like that. Just to match a bit better the explosion. But of course you feel free to do it however you want. If you want to make some grass like in the image, feel free. Now we have kind of our basic material. The next thing will be just a final setup for our render. So I will go for the camera here where it says matter. I will go to camera and I will activate the bloom effect. And this will make it so the emission materials are a bit brighter. So if you go here and add some size, you see how it starts to glow. And if you want to add aspect, this will make it like look like a star. So you need some blades though for that. So let's go for like 5 blades and you see how that makes it look like a star. So this is an aesthetic choice. If you like that, just use it. Otherwise, just turn it off. It's fine. And maybe we can use some exposure. If your image you feel is too dark, you can just add just a little bit of that and some vignette to make it look like the camera is like adjusting for the explosion brightness, right? Something like that. Okay, so we have something that does look kind of nice. We can adjust this later. So let's start with this and let's start modeling our explosion. So I will delete this and I will press Ctrl N and we have a fresh place to work. So I will press Tab to go into it. Tab it helps you go in and out of the working area. So in here, when you are in, right, you press Tab and now you're in, and you can change here the space of your working area. So the maximum you can make it is, I think, 256 in this version. And for explosion like the one we are making, maybe it's good to have a big size. If it happens to you that your camera is not rotating properly, you can click this button here that says recenter camera view, or you can also press Ctrl 5. Yeah. So let's start working on our explosion. Let's go with one of these materials. What is the same? You can start with whatever one. And go back to your VOXEL mode, sorry, this one, attach, and let's make it 1 for the moment. So we're gonna start laying out the shape of our explosion. So I have it here on the right on my other screen so I can see it, but basically I'm looking at this and trying to follow this shape to model it. So what I will do first is model the base to have an idea of how the explosion will be like in a 3-dimensional space. So just, it doesn't really need to be nothing too crazy, right? Just make something that makes you think like of an explosion base, right? Imagine from here is exploding to the sides and up. Okay, so we have this base. As you see, I just made it like very quickly and not thinking about it too much. And then I will move to orthographic here to have no perspective and be able to see perfectly straight. And I can still see here, maybe I should use this other color so you can see it better. So here is the base. So from here, I will start trying to outline something like this shape here. So I will go like that, something like this. It comes like that. In the top is a bit flatter, and then it comes down, and it goes out like a thumb here, and then it goes down. So maybe I missed a bit my shape down there, so I will make an intermediate. So I will select all of this, move it, adjust something else here, and maybe adjust a bit. So with M, you can go to this tool here. I will select this thing and I will move it there, and then I can adapt my base so it's kind of more like that. It's not too important, so let's get rid of this, that. Okay, so now we have this outline of the explosion. If you want, you can also do the other side kind of the same way. Just make something that goes out and in and has some noise, a bit flatter on the top. Maybe it's a bit crazier here. Something like that. So now we have something that we can follow when it's time to actually go on and model this thing, right? So let's adjust here a bit. It goes like that. Maybe that was a bit straight. Boom. And in here, let's do another one of these. And once you close these shapes, you can just make sure that it's actually closed. I'm missing something. In here, that is closed. Oh, here. And that is closed and perfect. Nice. So now we have something that is a bit easier to follow. If you wanted to close these sides, actually what you need to do is maybe do that before. And so maybe just bring it here and create a line there and then close it. And let's do the same for this guy. And of course it didn't work. There you go. So let's get rid of all the mess I've just made. Get rid of that. And right now we should have something we can work with here. So let's bring these things back. Nice. So we have here something we can start modeling over. Okay. So what you can do at this point is maybe save, because this is the part where you have to start adding a lot of geometry, a lot of voxels and stuff. And if you regret it or you want to go back, it's good to have a version. And let's go from here. Okay, so I will start using my Vox mode. Let's go for a number 20 maybe then. Yeah, something that is like large to give you like the base, the basic part of your explosion. Don't worry about the colors right now, we're gonna take care of that later. Okay, so trying to follow this shape, start adding some spheres. Make sure that you move the camera to make sure that you are not, or maybe go back to perspective to make it easier to understand. And start adding these balls everywhere. So I will do that now. Maybe sometimes change the size a bit to keep it interesting and not so uniform. Okay, so I added all of these spheres. Now I will, with a smaller one, maybe a 15, I will just add some final details like these smaller parts here. Just to give it some variation. And after this, what I'm doing right now, we're gonna start doing the inverse effect. We're gonna start deleting some pieces of this to give it a bit more of a chaotic shape, because right now, of course, it looks, it clearly looks like made out of meatballs, and we don't want that, right? We want something very cool looking. So now that I have this, maybe you can save again. You can use this other button, save project as, and call it like 02. So this will give you the opportunity to go back steps instead of like starting over, right? Okay, so I will go for a size like 25 or something like that, but instead I will go to erase. Maybe I will change the color again to gray because it will be easier to visualize. So I will go with my bucket mode. Yeah, something that is less bright. And let's start erasing now. So you see I'm going to the size and just generating these shapes here and there, so it's not everywhere so spherical and perfect. You know, maybe here we can have something more like that. You know, the wind goes in between here, creating a lot of turbulence within the explosion. So let's generate a bit of that in our work. And basically the idea is that you put your camera in any position and start like modeling the outline of your explosion to something that you think looks cool, because otherwise it might look very cool for one angle, but in the other one it might not, you know. So work more on the outline, not so much in the middle, because you cannot really see how it actually should look from a front view. But just keep modeling, just move a bit and do the same. Create something that is kind of interesting to look at. You can always go back, you can always add some more. But I'm trying to avoid these super rounded shapes everywhere. So because you see, we have some of that, but we also have these kind of like Boolean shapes, like with a hole in the middle, like looks more like a moon, you know, like that. So this is what we are creating here, and leaving some spheres, some of that, and then we can add again some spheres. So this is the process of, this is the creative part of this process, right? So you're gonna remove, you're gonna add some until you have something you really like. So I will do that now. Even if you get some flying bits, that's cool, because it's something that also happens on the real explosion, so it will look kind of cool. Something else you can do is, once you are working with something that it starts to take shape, you can also maybe use your selection tool here and just kind of model a bit differently. If you wanted something to be higher, you can, you know, just duplicate a bunch of things here and paste it, and maybe this thing could go a bit up and like that, and then you can add and remove in that spot to heal basically this hole that we created. And you know, it's very hard to notice in such a chaotic shape. So I'll just fill it, remove some, and in here I'll just remove a bit, and it's gone, you know. So you can really control the shape of your explosion, right? So for instance, I don't know, you can say maybe it should be thinner here, and in here should be a bit wider, like that. So you can just copy and paste the chunk, and from here, and then just go on and integrate that. So I'm making a very chaotic and exploded version here. You feel free to go as far as you want with this. Just keep modeling. If you like it more formed, just use more spherical shapes to get a more of a cartoonish look. Otherwise, just do what I'm doing and just continue to add detail and detail. Just go and follow your style and just enjoy the process. It's all about having some fun, because you will probably need to do a bunch of this until you get it right. And this is the second one I make. I just figured out the technique and I'm just sharing it with you. And if you make several of them, you will figure out that every time it looks a bit better. Okay, so let's stop here and start working on the materials, and this will give us a better idea if what we are doing is looking cool or if we went too far. So now that I have this, I will final detail here, sorry, select everything with my selection tool here, and I will choose my 4 fire materials up here, and I will just randomize that. So this would be a full fire explosion. This is how it looks. But of course, explosions have fire and also have smoke. So let's see how this works. We have a lot of this orange, some of this yellow, and quite a bit of these red ones, right? So the yellow one is the least present one, and the rest are more present. So what I will do is After doing that, after randomizing, I will select only the yellow and I will randomize again. That will make it that the yellow is less likely to appear, right? So this gives us a result with a more orange. So we could even now just paint with the voxel tool, and maybe a bit smaller, let's make it 10, paint, and you could paint specific colors in specific parts. Maybe there is more yellow in some bits of your explosion, maybe some here, you know, and let's paint some specific parts. So this will give you like a part where it's like really exploding. Like you see here, there's like a bit that is really exploding and the rest is not. And maybe there are parts that are more orange. Okay. So with this done, you could even randomize those again. There you go. So now let's start painting the smoke. So for the smoke, basically if you add a lot of smoke with a different material, you can then select it and delete it, and it doesn't change the shape underneath. So let's do it that way in order to make sure we are not destroying our work so far. So let's add some smoke there, maybe a little puff here, and perhaps some here. So make sure you have fiery bits and smoky bits, so the explosion looks more interesting. Maybe here at the base, we have some puffs of smoke here, and we're gonna remodel the smoke in a second. Maybe in here is all of this side is more smoky. And basically you see most of the explosion is covered with smoke, so don't be afraid to just add a lot of it, and we're gonna remove some in a second. It's always a process of adding and removing to create the different shapes. Yeah, so just single click taps, and it's starting to look interesting. And now what we will do, now that we have this, is to almost cover it all, just leave some bits. And now you will select all the smoke with your selection tool here and press Ctrl I. And this will make it that when we are erasing now, all of the voxels that are underneath our smoke are protected. So we can freely just work on this smoke without really affecting our work underneath, and really shape that smoke to make it look cool. So I will do that now. Okay, so let's see what we have right now on the render. You see it's looking kind of cool. But the next thing we need to do is to randomize our smoke. So of course, I'm making this very quickly. You can take more time and get a shape that works better for you. And when you do that, when you have that, you will select your smoke and you will randomize with all of these colors that we stole from that image. And this will give you that final randomization, you know, with darker tones and clearer tones. So now that I have this, I will just continue to add shape to this explosion until I like it. So let's do that. So I like the shape of my explosion right now. So what I will do is add some red to this smoke. So I will select one of the colors of the smoke and just add just the two non-emissive reds to them, just to have some of that red also on my explosion. And you can see there are parts that are more bright, there are some parts that are more smoky. And something else I would like to add is some bits coming out. So for that I will just go to my orthographic view, look it from a front distance, and start painting with a one-sized voxel mode. You can just go out like that from a front view, right? So imagine the explosion goes up and to the sides, right? So you will have to just try to keep that in mind, like this should be falling. If it's lower down, it should be already falling, and if it's higher up, could be just going to the side. So this will make it so they are right there on the side. So before I go on, I will select this and I will randomize the smoke, and just for added value I will just make the tips emissive, and then I will just with the voxel mode in 1, I will randomly erase some of that so it's not such a constant line. This is just a detail, it shouldn't be too obvious. So you see I'm just clicking, holding and dragging to delete randomly. And then what I will do is move this over on top of the explosion, and then I will Ctrl C, Ctrl V and rotate in here, the second rotate option, 45 degrees in Z. Yeah, we can do that again, and maybe flip it, and that will give you this effect of stuff going off the explosion. And now that we have this, it's all about continue to tweak it. Maybe you don't like that is so dark here, so you could, for instance, select all of the colors again and just randomize with less of the darker ones, and you will have like a lighter smoke. You know, you could even just paint back some of the light in parts that you think maybe went too dark. Like if we go here, maybe we can have some fire in these 2 bits, let's say, right? So just go to paint and paint some of that here and here, and then you can use the connected region select those bits and give them the treatment of randomizing here, and you will gain those chunks back, you know. So same stuff here. For instance, in this side I feel like maybe I overdid the smoke a bit, so let's get it back. We'll do that now. Let's select those chunks and randomize them. So you see, even if you have something that you feel like no, didn't really work, you can just continue to work on it a bit more until it starts coming off, right? So last detail, sorry, I know this looks like it never ends, but it's just tricks. You can just do how many of these you want. Just go back to same palette color, select one of the smoke colors and move it like 1 up. Oops, just Control, click on the right side and up. Select the other color, Control to the side, and a third one goes down. And this will make your smoke more fuzzy instead of being so solid. So even if you want to make it more, you can just like do it more. Just go a bit higher up, then a bit like that, right? And you can re-randomize so it doesn't look all the same. So let's go like that. Sorry, no, first you do like that, then you choose one color and you use the red ones. Right, so that's the difference that it makes. I forgot we were not using so much of the darker ones, so let's re-randomize this bit. So let's just use those, randomize, and then choose one and randomize. And there you go. So that will make it so your smoke is, if I go closer now, is a bit fuzzier. So we got some stuff going through here, so let's delete that on the roof. And yeah, continue to tweak it, make it maybe lighter, you know, from here to here, and that will make your smoke go a bit lighter if you need that. Maybe make it like very light mostly, and have like one or two that are a bit darker, and just continue to work. Look at the difference that made. You can really see the smoke now. It was kind of pitch black before. Also consider that the lighting plays a big role on this, so if you rotate your light, you will get like very different results. The last bit of information you will need is that in order to render, you will need to change here the resolution to 2048 by 2048 to get the maximum resolution you can get, and use the samples of 5000. Just be patient for the image to clean up and render properly. And when that's done, you click this camera icon to save your image on your computer. And that pretty much concludes our tutorial. From this point I will be adding more details, just playing with it, adding some smoke. I will ask you to follow me on Instagram. My video game is called Synth Hunters. There you will see all of my voxel work. Also, I will ask you to follow me on this account, where I will be uploading tutorials from Magicavoxel and other VFX related content. I have also a short film called Pulsión that I would love you to see and let me know what you think. And finally, I will invite you to join my Discord server, where we have a small community of people that shares their art, and we talk about the art and we chat about everything. We play video games. It's a very, very nice community to make friends and to learn. So you are more than welcome to join us there. Thank you, and see you on the next time.